make pretty much all of my music in studios like these, a single room in an apartment. This is actually the first room I've ever worked out of that isn't also where I sleep. Because of that, I mostly use sample libraries and amp modelers for their convenience over recording live guitar cabs, strums, and keys. I love many parts of this workflow, but when I think about some of my favorite sounding records, most of them are recorded in professional recording studios, tracked to analog tape, and mixed through large format recording consoles, completely independent of the digital world in which I create from. I think my generation carries a lot of vicarious nostalgia for an age we feel like we missed out on. One of the ways that this is carried over into the music production world is through analog emulations. I use these plugins on a daily basis, even choosing which plugins to buy based off of the usage of their authentic counterparts in the music I enjoy. While these can get me close to a desired sound, there is always this feeling that I was missing out on something. See, with plugins, there are no knobs to turn, no switches to flip, and no buttons to press. There's no waiting for the vacuum tubes to heat up before use. There's no physical VU meter to dance alongside with. There's no decision about which instrument deserves the unique sonic character of a hardware unit, confined to just one track at a time. There is no inherited history of every piece of music that's ever flowed through the veins of its circuitry. There is no personal relationship between me and the gear. Enter the AudioScape Buss Comp. This is my first piece of professional analog equipment that I haven't used for live tracking, such as my Art Tube preamps. Let me know if you want a video on these. I decided if I was to only have one unit, it should be one that makes the largest improvement to my sound. The AudioScape Buss Comp is modeled after the SSL G Buss Compressor, which was designed to treat the entire mix all at once, which is primarily how I use this unit. It was also relatively affordable compared to some other options, but we'll get to value later on in this video. This thing has replaced Softube's bus processor plugin, and in doing so has made my life more difficult. It's the first time I've had to send my music outside of my digital utopia into the real world and then back into my computer. To do that, I had to buy a larger interface with more ins and outs and 4 decent quality cables just to get the thing running. It's the first time I've had to take pictures of how the knobs are set up for a specific song just so I can get back to it later. It's a pain in the ass, just like I wanted. I'll get to how this thing sounds in a second, but if you're just wondering whether it sounds better than a plugin, then the answer is yes, it sounds better than a plugin. But for me, this thing means a lot more than that. As an audio engineer, this is the first time I've formed a personal relationship with my mixing gear, the same kind of relationships I've formed with my instruments as a musician. There's a kind of special feeling in knowing that as I make music, it's flowing through a similar kind of circuitry that shaped the sounds of my inspirations. I love the tactile feedback from the physical interface, I love watching the needle dance, it looks impressive in front of clients, and it's got this kind of prestige to it. This thing is just plain fun to use, and the fact that it makes my life a little harder is part of that fun. This unit is often sold on AudioScape's website for $700 USD. As a disclaimer, AudioScape did get me this unit at a discounted price in return for this video, but this was still a significant purchase for me. They also didn't have any control over what I say in this video. In fact, they haven't even seen it at the time of this upload. So understand I'm at no obligation to say this, but AudioScape is a fantastic company. If you want to know more about how they operate, you should check out Produced Like a Pro's factory tour video, but essentially they're a small operation of passionate people building high quality units by hand at reasonable prices. Nowadays, it seems like everything is being shipped overseas to be made like garbage, so it's really refreshing to see companies like AudioScape handcrafting units in the United States. So I proudly wear their sticker on my water bottle. The beer koozie, on the other hand, I guess I appreciate. Does anyone actually use these? Like, is anyone like, my drink is too cold, I need to put it in something? Visually, I think this unit is beautiful. They are shameless about emulating SSL's X-Logic G series, which gives it a professional, recognizable look. The build quality is fantastic. The knobs feel seriously good to turn. There's a good amount of resistance on the continuous knobs and a satisfying heavy click on the stepped ones. The switches feel exactly how you want them to feel, but the power button feels so good to press it's nearly an issue. I feel like I need some fidget toy that's just made of these controls. The chassis is only connected to the front panel on the edges, which can make it sag a little if pressed, but I don't really see this as an issue, especially if it's going to be in a rack. It sounds really, really good. Like I said earlier, it sounds better than any plugin I've tried. It's made my mixes sound better, it would likely make your mixes sound better, but how much better is it than the best sounding plugin I've tried? A little. It sounds a little better. If this thing sounds really, really good, then Softube's bus processor sounds really good. You get what I'm saying? This is really the whole point of what I'm trying to say with this video. If you're looking for the best value possible, as in spending the least amount of money to get the largest improvement in sound quality, then this isn't your solution. The solution to that is most likely to buy high quality acoustic treatment for your mixing environment, or better speakers, or better headphones, or a better headphone amplifier, or maybe even a bunch of high quality plugins if you don't have any. And if you're not confident with your mixing and you can't get a great sound out of a software compressor, this will not save you. But if you already have a decent monitoring setup, if you already know how to use a software compressor, if you're already getting the results you're after, but you want that extra 15 to 20%, then let's talk. This thing is transparent in a way that my plugins are not. I feel far more comfortable driving this thing into some pretty serious gain reduction compared to my plugins. I feel like it preserves the dynamics of my original mix better under heavier loads, so I can get away with more aggressive settings. I get the squeeze, glue, and slam that I want with less of the usual sacrifices, such as pumping artifacts or that kind of distant sound that overcompression can lead to. The quieter details in a mix seem to be brought out in a really satisfying way, and everything just sounds bigger and more polished. It also does lovely things for the stereo image. It feels like it gives the mix a kind of like sideways hourglass shape, like squeezing out the sides of the mix. It really makes a track sound like a finished record. A good compressor plugin will do all these things, just not quite as well. And the wrong compression settings won't do any of these things on any compressor. Also keep in mind that these differences might be really clear to someone with trained ears on a professional playback system, but to most people, these differences are extremely nuanced and subtle. Not to mention that YouTube's compression algorithm may completely mask these details in the audio demo, making it difficult to tell what this is offering over a plugin. For this reason, I've exaggerated the compression settings that I would usually use for this audio demo just to make the differences more apparent. The music that you're about to hear is either from personal projects of mine or clients that I've produced. What do I not like? The lights are bright and white. I know it might seem like a minor detail, but I also know that I'm not the only person who cares about these things. I often work at night in a dimly lit environment, and with this unit sitting right in front of me, the lights are constantly in my line of sight. I just wish they had opted for a warmer tone, especially seeing as the unit that they modeled it after uses those lights. I doubt it would have cost much more, and it would have made a big difference in creating a more comfortable workspace. I did reach out and ask how difficult it would be to replace the lights, and they told me that I could swap out a single resistor to dim the lights, but for me, the issue is more with the color, so I think I might try buying some orange tinted gels and putting them over them. The only other thing that could have been better is the VU meter. This was originally brought up by George Lever, I'll link his video here, but I agree with him that the movement of the needle is a bit sloppy. Sometimes I can hear the compressor working faster than the needle can show, and it kind of bounces around based on its momentum rather than a strict adherence to the gain reduction being applied. That being said, I usually use the VU meter to determine how much peak gain reduction I'm getting, and then I use my ears to gauge the finer details. And that's how a VU meter is supposed to be used anyways, so I'm really nitpicking here. If you were looking for your first piece of professional gear in a hybrid setup, the AudioScape Buss Comp is a perfect place to start. For me, the $700 price tag is completely worth what you get out of this unit. It's built extremely well, it looks good, it sounds fantastic, the company's great, and you get a complimentary beer koozie. From now on, all of my music will likely have been put through this compressor. Even my voice throughout this video has been. AudioScape, and specifically Michael from AudioScape, thank you so much for all of your trust and help so far. I'm so happy to call this unit my own, and hopefully it's not going to be the only AudioScape product in my hands for very long. And thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any thoughts or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll try to get back to them. Bye bye now. So I proudly